2 for the show today. I don't, our normal time at 2 p.m. I don't know what happened. I use Rumble Studio and it just wasn't working, I guess. But I think it's working now, hopefully. Let's see if it is. Let's see, hopefully it is. There's that. There's that. Okay, so California versus Florida. This is the proxy fight for America. We are in a situation where we're getting to see how this thing is going to play out. California has done some crazy things. We know about the corruption with Mussolini. We know about the election fraud. They have legalized election fraud. In 2015, we went over the other day, they did everybody who gets a license gets to vote or gets to register to vote. Before that, they had allowed the illegals to get licenses. You know, they wrap it in things that sound like, well, they're driving anyways, and if they get a license, then we can watch them. So it's just always a big scam. Okay. They then proceeded to do the ballot harvesting and then mail-in ballots and then mass mail-in ballots, and then you get corruption. All right. Florida, on the other hand, has been going the other way. And we see the migration. California is losing 300,000 to 500,000 people a year. Florida is gaining a lot of people a year. I don't know the exact number, but it's a lot of people. Okay, the money is going with it. This billionaires tax, I didn't bring it up today, I had it earlier today, but the billionaires tax that they're doing, where is it? There it is. The billionaires tax that they're doing in California. This is another one of these, you know, they're all doing it. They're all working off the same sheet of paper, all working off the same music. They're going to try to put they're putting it, they can put it on the ballot. The unions are doing it. And by the way, why are the unions doing it? Some might say, you know, what does a union have to do with it? Because the unions have been in the health workers union is the one that's really been pushing it. All that health fraud you've been hearing about, the in-home daycare, they steal our tax dollars. They funnel them through to anybody that says, I'm staying home with a loved one. Maybe there are some legitimate people who are doing that, but most of the people are frauds and they're not doing that. Well, those people get unionized. They pay dues. The money funnels back to the Democrats. It's the same old story. So they just want more money. They're trying to take 5% of the net worth of the billionaires. The first question everybody should be asking is, how will they know? Well, that is going to be pretty invasive, and they're going to have to, it's going to probably be the case where the person is going to have to prove that they showed them all their assets, valuing all their art, if they're super wealthy, cars, etc. It's not just going to be their 401k, homes, real estate, etc. It's an obvious, terrible idea because when we tax something, we get less of it. California will get less wealth. People are already leaving. They take their wealth and their taxes with them. It's billions and billions of dollars that leave. And in California, California's done very well over the last 40 or 50 years because of capital gains taxes. In California, capital gains taxes are taxed as ordinary income, regardless whether they are held long-term or short-term. So you could hold, if you work for Google, you could be a multimillionaire after working there 20 years. When you sell your stock, it's a ordinary income. If you're in the highest tax bracket, you're going to pay 37% tax on that gain. With the wealthy people leaving because they don't want to pay it, that's about 10%, if my analysis was right, about 10% on average of the tax receipts in California come from capital gains. That's a big number to go down. You can imagine that many of the ordinary Californians, working class, they're not going to have big capital gains. Okay? So this is one of the small things, the taxes. What's another thing? Well, I want to just show this. Where is it? Where is it? There's a video. Here it is. There's a video of an Australian. I assume he's here for the World Cup, but I don't know. And he's in Florida. And he wants to share with us Let's just listen to what he has to say.
Like, I'm in Florida. This beach is insane. Like, just as good as Australian beaches. But if you log onto the news, everything's bad. Everyone's got blue hair. Everything's terrible. It's not. It's absolutely fucking amazing. Are you kidding me?
Look at that water.
The reason for this is
okay. Then there's a little analysis. Listen, there's a reason why that's in Florida and not in California. Okay, I haven't seen, I'm sure they are. I haven't seen that video in California because with California, you would think, oh, their water is beautiful. I lived in California. There were a huge number of days you couldn't go in the ocean out in Santa Monica or Venice because of the sewage runoff. That doesn't even take into account the homeless and drug addicts on the beach. Okay, Florida is different. Why? You can go, this is the great Dan Bongino, contrast. Ron DeSantis in Florida, Mussolini in California. Ron DeSantis is probably the best governor in the history of governors. If you remember, little history lesson, okay? He won a very, very narrow race in 2018. I think it's Andrew Gillum was the guy's name. A black guy, doesn't matter to conservatives, but to Democrats it does. And it was a very close race. I think the final tally, DeSantis beat him by 32 or 33,000 votes. Very slim. But DeSantis worked quickly and turned that state around. Now, the Democrats won't even compete in that state. It used to be a toss-up state. It used to be a purple state. Not anymore. That's how fast these things can turn around. That's how fast. Now, if I can find it, Trump put out a Truth Social about Utah. And what he said was basically that Utah is going the way of California. Okay, where is it? Here it is. Okay, I'm going to put it up and we're going to read it. You got to check, say it all the time. You absolutely got to check his Truth Social before you go on because anything can happen. Okay, this was a little bit ago, so it wasn't just that. Okay. It seems as though the great state of Utah, which I won each time and handily, is going to the all mail-in ballot format of Colorado and the rest. That always head left as soon as the move is made. We should stop Utah from doing this. All mail-in ballots dishonestly handled are a big advantage for Democrats, whose only road to victory, because their policies are so insane, is cheating. Does the Republican Party have any idea what is happening to it? Step by step, state by state, the Democrats are smiling all the way to the bank. Stop the onslaught by either immediately terminating the filibuster and or the Save America Act. All right, we're going to get into that because he's in a death match over that. But this is, he doesn't mention California specifically, but that's what we were just talking about with California. All ballot harvesting, flat out illegal. It's legal in California, which you can do when you have all the votes. Single party rule in California. It's tyranny. When there is one party, that is tyranny. There's no check and balance. There's no seesaw, the other party. There's none of that. It's single party rule. Two wolves and a sheep deciding what to have for dinner. The sheep is us, and we get eaten. Trump is pointing out that Utah is going that way. Trump is pointing out that we can't keep on allowing these things to happen. California, Florida, that is the different visions. I just saw a little while ago, the city council in LA is now in a 10-5 vote. They're trying to get illegals to be able to vote in city elections. They aren't slowing down. They didn't learn anything. They didn't say, hey, I'll quit while I was ahead. I've cheated for a long time. Mussolini's under investigation. Harmeet Dillon, Assistant Attorney General, we're going to get to her in a second. She's looking into things. They're going full bore, full leftist. Why? They have no choice and they have no downside. If they don't, California will be Florida very quickly. We've shown a lot the colors red and blue for the state of California in the last presidential election. It is mostly red, except for San Francisco, LA, and then San Diego. Those happen to be places where the elections are largely corrupted, single party rule, broken record, all controlled by Democrats, so there's no checks and balance. If California loses and gets Hilton in the governor's office, they know, the Democrats know, that he's going to bring in the Attorney General, the Department of Justice. He's going to bring in any other inspectors he can, and he's going to try to root out the corruption. And that is going to be a big problem for them. That's why the mayor's race in LA was so important. That's why I covered the mayor's race in LA as if it was a national race, because California and Los Angeles in particular is of national importance. Okay, California and Florida. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Trying to get to the next clip here. This is a Ron DeSantis clip. We've talked about the housing situation quite a bit. We've talked about how the illegals being removed has a very positive effect on the housing market. This is what Ron DeSantis is saying. In Florida, rents have declined as interior immigration enforcement efforts have increased. A recent Federal Reserve working paper finds that unauthorized immigration, that's illegal immigration, accounted for roughly 30% of house price growth and 20% of rent growth in the average metro area between 2021 through 2024. As that demand eases, so should price pressure. Zillow reports national mortgage costs, et cetera. Okay, we talked about this a couple of days ago. As the illegals come in, they are a person that needs a house, obviously. Then they get the Democrats to give them our tax dollars that are stolen. We're not told that's where it's going. We're told it's not going there. We find out now that it is, both for purchases and for rents. And then the Democrats inflate away the purchasing power of our dollar. So we go into the housing market with demand artificial from the illegals, dollars in the demand side of the equation, artificial, our money being stolen and used against us, and the purchasing power of our dollars decreased. And we still have to go compete with them. Drives up prices. The market is distorted. Okay? That's what he's talking about. We talked about this because there was an article about what the Housing and Urban Development Secretary, Turner, I think is his name, he's doing. Okay? I want to bring this one up. This is the great Nick Gurley. Now, he's a great real estate analyst. He does not make that conclusion that I just made. But what he does do, and what I can show you here, is regional sales by price, existing single-family homes. These are the price ranges up here, 0 to 100,000, 100 to 250,000. You see these declines? Where would we expect the effect of the illegals being pulled out of the housing market to be? We wouldn't expect it up in the million-plus homes, or even to the 750 to a million homes. We expect it down in this range. Okay? And that's what we're seeing overall. Some more than others. Look at this. In the West, not as much in either one of these yet. That probably has as much to do with sanctuary cities than it does anything else. But in these other areas, coming down. Okay? This is another difference, by the way, between California and Florida. In Florida, housing prices are more affordable. California is going the other way. And they're double and tripling down. As I just pointed out, LA City Council voted 10-5 to let illegals vote. What do you think is going to happen then? California versus Florida is the proxy fight for the fight for America. Right now, it's obvious. I say this all the time. If the Democrat policies were so great, California wouldn't have 300,000 to 500,000 people a year leaving. They'd have 300,000 to 500,000 people or more going in, because people would go in if it was great. And if the Democrats' policies could work, where would they work better than the place they have single party rule, top to bottom? What policy haven't they implemented that they might want to implement? Open question. Who out there isn't implementing some Democrat policy? Florida is winning. That is showing, regardless what people say, the great Thomas Sowell, observe what people do, not what they say. He observes a lot that the left, the Democrats, they get a lot of personal benefit or personal self-aggrandizement, if I can say that word clearly. I don't think I did. By having ideas that they never have to pay the price for, and that when they don't work, they just move on. That's what you see California and Florida. California, nothing's working. That's why everybody's leaving. Florida, things are working. By the way, Florida not only has no personal income tax, so forget billionaires tax, no personal income tax. They're now going to get rid of the real estate tax. I will even want to, at some point, consider Florida. How do you not? If you have no real estate taxes and no income taxes and the state runs beautifully. If I remember the stat right, New York City has a bigger budget than the state of Florida. I think that's right. Maybe wrong. But that's the proxy fight. Trump points out in that Truth Social, Utah is trying to go that way. We've already seen and talked about Washington doing a millionaire's tax. We've pointed out that Oregon is doing crazy lefty things, trying to ban hunting and fishing. Insane. I can't believe that could be constitutional, but they might get a judge to agree to it. They would have to go to the Supreme Court. We can't continue to have these states rig the elections and be so riddled with corruption, because you never can get control, essentially, once that corruption starts. How is it going to stop? You're going to need the Department of Justice to come in. All right. This ties into the Save America Act. Trump is fighting a death cage match. If you ever watched Abdullah the Butcher or Dusty Rhodes back in the day, they used to go to Japan and do these matches in cages and with barbed wire and all this stuff, blood everywhere. That's what he is in right now with the Senate. I try to simplify things because my brain doesn't handle super big, complicated things great. I got to really simplify them down. All the nonsense in the Senate can come down to two things. One, if Thune wanted to pass the Save America Act, he could do it. Why? Two reasons. One, he's the majority leader. He can use a lot of levers to get people to vote. He can give them better office space, better assignments on committees. He can help them raise money. He can also do sticks. That's carrot. He can do the stick. He can put a primary person against him, make it so he can't raise money, put him on crappy committees or no committees, give him terrible office space. There's a lot of carrots and sticks. That's why they call it whipping the vote. Okay? He's choosing not to do that. That's one. Two, they can do the standard regular filibuster that we saw in Mr. Smith Goes to DC, goes to Washington. Okay, it's a regular filibuster. A few years ago, they changed it so that all you had to do was like text in or email in, I want a filibuster. And that was it. Well, the whole purpose of the filibuster is it had to cost you something. They had to debate. And over the course of a debate, you might get to a resolution. All right, I'm going to play this. It's a J.D. Vance, where is it? J.D. Vance clip. I'm going to get to a Trump clip. There it is. And he is basically saying, yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't we? Because Thune doesn't want to. The Save America Act won't be the perfect fix, but it will be a very big fix to stop this corruption in these various states. Here we go.
Leader Thune said it's unrealistic to get the Save America Act passed by attaching it to FISA, which is what the president's looking for. Do you believe this is possible?
Well, why don't we try? Why don't we try and at least force people to vote against it? One of the things that sometimes frustrates me about the legislative process is that people will go into it saying, this isn't possible, therefore we're not even going to try. Well, let's actually see. Let's try it. And if it's not possible, then let the people put their name on it. This is also good for the American people. How many American senators know that the American people love the Save America Act because they believe in voter ID? But how many of those same senators don't want to vote for it because they know that the radical elements within their own party would punish them for it? Let people go on the record and actually answer to the American people, which is why I think we should do exactly as the president said.
JD's no dummy. He's calling them out. He's saying they're trying to hide. They don't want to do it. They don't want to be on the record. Right now, Thune is allowing them all to be, hiding in the background. Oh, we don't have the votes. And what JD is saying is, when we force the regular talking filibuster, which means you got to talk until you can't talk, you got to go pee, you lose the gavel. Okay? And what that does is it has tended in the past to bring out compromise or a deal. And then, by the way, you only need 50%, 51%. You get the 51st vote from JD. You don't need the 60. This is not complicated stuff. And it should be done. And what JD is saying is, let the American people see. This is one of the things that Trump has changed drastically. We've shown quite a lot that speech from 2015, and I might, if I have time, do a little bit more from that speech. It's a brilliant speech, and it shows exactly what Trump's about. He's aggressive. He understands human nature, just like the founders did. He understands winning, okay? And he wants the American people to see and know everything. None of this, remember Obamacare? Pelosi saying, if you want to see what's in the bill, you got to pass it first. It's like being hijacked. It's ridiculous. They make these bills, this long, like it's War and Peace, and they say you got to read it in 2 hours and then we're going to vote on it. Now we can maybe do that with AI, but not until recently. It's not fair. JD is saying, open it up for the people. He's right. Okay? He's right. Now, if I can find this, once again, searching around. Let's listen to a little Trump. This isn't specifically on the Save America Act, but it is on, hold on. Wait, is that what this one is about? This is about the filibuster. This is what I wanted to play. Okay, hold on. Get it up. There it is. All right.
We're going to go down the tubes, but I would terminate the filibuster and I'd take a vote and I'd have everything done and I'd vote on voter ID and I'd vote on citizenship. I'd vote on no mail-in ballots other than if you're, military or you're ill or you're traveling. I mean, I'll be generous about it, but no mail-in ballots. They're inherently dishonest. Jimmy Carter said that the greatest thing Jimmy Carter ever did was after he got out of office, because his tenure in office was not good. He did something that is horrible. He gave away a thing called the Panama Canal for $1. This was perhaps the worst deal ever made. The Panama Canal for $1 was not good. It was I don't know if you know, Panama Canal was the most expensive thing, if you bring it to current dollars, ever built in the history of our country, in the history of the world.
Okay, now, I played that for two reasons. Number one, I love it. He calls it out. Get the filibuster going. Jimmy Carter did. We talked about that quite a lot. Jimmy Carter was part of the Carter-Baker Commission, and they said more mail-in ballots, more fraud. The New York Times, Adam Liptak, who played the great Dan Bongino, for me, he found it, 2012 article, New York Times, Adam Liptak. It says more mail-in ballots, more fraud. Why was the New York Times saying that? Because in 2012, they were worried about the overseas military ballots coming in late for Republicans. That's why. Now that they figured out a way to make it work for them in a corrupt way, they're all for them, mail them to everybody. Okay, and by the way, this is one of those things I say all the time. We're forced to do the emperor has no clothes. We play charades. Everybody with a brain, even people who don't want to admit it, can acknowledge that when you just mail out millions of ballots and just let them be sloshing around, there's going to be corruption. I share often. I worked the polls in 2016 in Los Angeles. If you tore a ballot and it tore not at the top, you had to really account for it, even though they told everybody to do a provisional ballot, which is another scam back then before they could mail the ballots out in mass. Okay? So what Trump does, that was the first thing I wanted to mention, is he's talking there about the filibuster, do the Save America Act, and then he's talking about because we want to fix these elections. But then he gets off on the Panama Canal. I love that. A lot of people criticize Trump and say, see, he loses focus, he goes over there. I don't think that's losing focus. He just got 2 or 3 huge pieces of information out to anybody who was listening. I don't know that a lot of people know that Jimmy Carter, a Democrat, sold the Panama Canal for $1. I don't think a lot of people would know or remember that. I don't know that a lot of people knew about the Jimmy Carter Commission. And then, of course, the filibuster. He gets 3 pieces of information out in that one, whatever that was, 50-second clip or something, or 40-second clip. I think that's a big deal. I think that's part of his secret sauce. By the way, he's on the phone today. He did a press conference we're going to show here in a second. He just came off the plane from this morning from his trip overseas. He is constantly out talking to the people. Have you ever seen him shy away from the press? Have you ever seen one of those, those videos where like they get some congressperson who won't answer questions, or some senator like Senator Warren coming off of a private jet and she won't answer a question about why are you flying a private jet? Have you ever seen Trump do that? Never seen that happen. As the title of yesterday's show said, don't bet against Trump. It's been a bad bet. Okay? I want to show this one clip of him from today because it was pretty great. If I can find it, which I think I can. Oh, I want to get to that. Yeah, let me see if this works. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. Okay. Just another example. He is absolutely relentless. He is constantly getting information out, and he's in a constant stream of communication. Even when we think it's just, he's off message or he lost focus, not so much. Listen to this.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, and we'll be seated. We have some very important business to take care of. I just do want to say, though, the stock market just hit a new all-time high. The 401ks just hit a new all-time high, and oil is dropping like a rock. Other than that, it's another day in paradise.
Okay. I mean, there's no one like him. He's smarter than the Democrats. He's smarter than the globalists. He was smarter than the Iranians. We'll take a minute on that too. Okay. And he just got out important information. Many people don't pay attention to the stock market. He's letting them know that's not the only indication. It's not necessarily, they say, dispository that everything's going great, but it is a good thing. Okay. If you're in Bitcoin, you're not so happy today. Okay. But the stock market going up generally is good. And he needs to get that information. And then oil is going down. What did I see before I came on? Mid 70s or high 70s, and some of it's low 70s. I've said a lot. The price to watch for in oil, watch for $60 a barrel. When we get down to $60 a barrel, that is a huge, massive changing kind to what's going to be going on in the economy. Big change. So he's fighting a death match. We have to all hope that is going to, that he's going to win it. Because like he says, if we don't stop allowing these leftist states to corrupt the elections, we are going to be in trouble. Okay? Let's just go to a little review from years past on corruption as it relates to Mussolini. Wait, where do I go here? Here we go.
The no side.
Hold on, I'm going to rewind that and get that up so you can see it. And then press play.
And we have a key race alert for you as more and more of the raw votes come in. And look, should Governor Newsom be recalled?
See this?
No, 67%. That's with 52% of the vote in. Most of the vote is in. 67% say no. 33% about say yes. The no side, the keep Governor Newsom side, is up by more than 2.3 million votes. 2.3 million votes as of right now. Now, there's still 48% of the vote to come in, John King. But as of right now,
by the way, this was when Newsom,
I would be feeling pretty good.
You would be thinking, number one, you're going to get to complete your term. And number two, Governor Newsom made this campaign in the end about Larry Elder, but also about the comparison, California versus, say, Florida and Texas on COVID. If your keep Newsom number stays anywhere close to that, other governors going. If your keep Newsom number stays anywhere close to
see that down there? How do you do reverse votes? How does that work? Okay, this is what Trump is talking about. This is what the Save America Act is going to hopefully prevent. This corruption. Because they have single party rule, it's a flywheel. We do it constantly. It's a broken record, so we remember. They have single party rule, which means nobody can stop them, and they can make the illegal legal. Ballot harvesting should be illegal. Mail-in ballots should be illegal. The Save America Act will make sure that everybody has to have a photo ID and has to be a citizen. Okay. All right. I want to move on to just a couple more things as we sort of wind down here. There was I want to talk a little bit about baseball, but there was one other thing, if I can find it here. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to mention another California crazy thing. What's this thing with the prove you're gay stuff? Harmeet Dillon she's been amazing. Affirmative action for Eskimos and LGBT people. The California Public Utilities Commission Supplier Diversity Program has gone off the rails. This may be news to California, but race and sex discrimination violate federal law. Civil Rights, the division, will take appropriate action. All right, just another thing. When you have all of the votes, single party, you essentially can do, unfortunately, whatever you want. All right, two things. We're going to talk baseball, but with a little bit of a different twist. There was a story just a few days ago that there were a couple of guys from the San Francisco Giants, I think it is, who put Bible verses on their hats. Okay? Read this. How about you play freaking baseball and leave the intolerant bigotry of the hate-mongering crowd to the Democrat politics? 3 Giant pitchers wore Bible verses, on Pride Night caps. So San Francisco Giants have Pride Night. They write, and then Major League Baseball warned them and said, you can't do that. I don't know what Major League Baseball is doing. I don't know if they think that their audience is now, 51% LGBTQ, PRS, whatever. But this seems like a bad deal. This is right in the middle of a major labor fight. I will say here, I've said it, I think I might have even done a whole show on this once way back, like, a few months ago. The MLBPA and all of the players' associations should seriously consider decertifying the union. The union rules do not work for players. They work for owners, which is why the owners require the unions to stay unionized. You can't think of another industry where management, ownership wants the union to stay. Why? Because they have effectively broken the union a long time ago. They have 2 things that give them total power over the players: lockout power and the monopoly. You can't really go play baseball. You can go to Japan or South Korea, but it's not the same. Okay? So same thing with football, same thing with hockey, same thing with basketball. Nothing's like America. And then they have the lockout, which means if they have a labor dispute, they can lock the players out and not pay them. And then they wait the players out and they get what they want. MLB is going to probably do that. The only tool the players really have now, because they're not going to strike, because the owners, in my era, I'm 58, in my era, there was always a couple of knucklehead owners who were teetering on the edge of trouble. And so the leagues had to be conscious of that. And if there was a strike, those teams wound up in bad shape, and that wasn't good. All the owners now are multi-billionaires. They're not going to, they could take away the whole team and they won't miss a meal. So striking is more or less irrelevant. Okay, you're not going to outweight them. But you can decertify. But this thing with the Bible verses is a great example. The MLB, the owners, have all the power. Okay, they essentially can change stuff that they want. Football, basketball, hockey. Hockey's the most controlled by the owners. I would urge any players that are watching, or get this to players, seriously consider decertifying. There's lots of precedent. The NFL did it back in the late 80s, early 90s. They were decertified for 3 or 4 years. Biggest gains they ever made. And telling, the owners required as a settlement that they recertify. Okay? The union works for the owners, not for the players. It's nothing to do with personalities. It's not good or bad. It's just a product of the fact that the union laws, the labor laws, were written not with big, super successful sports leagues in mind. By the way, the owners are not bad guys. The owners are awesome. They're great. Okay? They've done great things, built these leagues from very small businesses. They're huge now. Awesome. It's just that the players don't have a fair shake. And sometimes, like Netanyahu and Trump, They got to tussle a little bit. Pass it on. The Ordinary American at proton.me. Any players that want to reach out can put give them the layout on how that would work. It's not that complicated. It's hard, but it's not complicated. Okay? All right. I wanted to mention two more things. One, I don't have it up, but I'm going to say it. The UFC fight, the numbers came in 150 million people. By the way, I don't think it was exactly 150 million. It was 149 or 151, but 150 million people tuned into Paramount, I think it was. I think there was only 4,000 or 5,000 invited to the actual event. And then there was a satellite event where there was another 80 or 90,000. But 150 million. To give you some reference, that is far bigger than any Super Bowl ever. I think the biggest Super Bowl audience for TV was maybe 127 million-ish, something like that. So way bigger. That is a great indication. It's not a poll. It's not definitive of anything, but I would say that is an indication of what I would consider to be, if we have 330, 340 million people, getting close to half of America turned into that fight. That's pretty big. Pretty great. Okay. We do quite a bit about health on this show. Health, and tomorrow, by the way, Forgiveness Friday. We say that we are an anti-leftist show. We are here to try to drive people away from Democrats and to the Republican Party, not because the Republican Party has the answers, because they don't. The great Dan Bongino observes. Republicans may not be the solution to the problem, but the Democrats are the cause of the problem. But the Democrats, you can see the difference between California and Florida. Which do you want? If you like California, go move there. If you left California and you ever vote for Democrats again, you are a retard. If you can and you don't move to California because you live in Florida and you say, I don't want to pay so much in taxes or the homeless is a problem, and you're still voting Democrat, you're a retard. Okay? Stop it. The left ruins everything it touches, the great Dennis Prager. So we try to do health and wellness and spirituality, religion, because this is a spiritual battle. The left needs us unhealthy. Part of unhealth is not having a relationship with God. The greatest life hack you can do. Better than kettlebells, better than stem cells, better than keto, better than cold plunge, better than anything. Develop a relationship with God. Forgiveness Friday is tomorrow. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. On the health side, all those things are great. I want to play this because this is Ray Kurzweil. He's a futurist, and he is talking to Tony Robbins. And he is basically saying that we're getting to the point that we're going to essentially, my words now, cure aging. Let's listen to him.
Really anticipate. I mean, I'm 78 years old.
Yes.
And I'm in good shape, but in 6 years, we'll reach longevity escape velocity.
Oh, so it is 6 years. So explain to people what that means.
So 2032. So
2032.
Right now, you go through a year.
Yeah.
And use up a year of your longevity.
Yes.
However, we're coming up with new cures, new treatments, and you actually get, if you're diligent, which I'm sure you are, and most of the listeners here are,
Yeah.
but not everybody is. But if you're diligent, you get back. Well, last year I was saying about 4 months. Let's say it's probably about 5 months. So you're getting back 5 months. So you lose about 7 months
out of a year. So you're saying longevity velocity, escape velocity is when we get to the point where every year you get a year back.
You get back a full year.
Okay, we're going to just a little film study. He said something important. If you're paying attention or if you're taking care of yourself. I don't know how he defines that. So I don't know if you have to be crazy, strict, keto diet or something. I don't know. But essentially what he's saying is that if you're taking care of yourself, you can get back 5 months, but you can't get back a year. But we're getting to the place where we can get back a year. So if you live a year and you get back a year, you get into this place, which you'll see he says right now, is that you don't have to die of aging.
People like David Sinclair, Dr. Sinclair has been working on this. He's got, as you know, he's got mice being able to see again after they've lost the nerves in their eyes. He's doing the first tests on humans now.
There's lots of research.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is we're going to be able to find cures by basically saying what the problem is, and the computer will actually generate the possibilities it'll generate millions of possibilities and go through them all.
Test them.
So we're beginning to be able to do that. And then you can actually do human trials,
yes,
but using simulated humans.
Yeah.
So that's coming. That'll happen by 2030. So by 2032, we'll be able to go through all the different possibilities. So you get back at least a year. As you go past 2032, you'll actually get back more than a year. But you won't die of aging at that point. It doesn't mean you can have an accident tomorrow.
Sure.
Okay, he goes into this, which I'll share with you here in a second about the accident stuff. But you see what he's saying? Because AI can compute so much data so fast, they're able to find drugs and then say, will this work in these circumstances, and run simulations. It's not a human trial, but it is a simulation. Okay, and that means that they're able to rule out stuff as much as they rule in stuff. And then he's saying, he thinks by 2032, by the way, his track record, they say, is really good. Supposedly predicting the iPhone, supposedly predicting the internet, supposedly predicting, there was a couple of other things I can't remember, AI, I think. And what he's saying, and you can see Tony Robbins is up on this, is that because of AI, the iterations will be so unbelievable, we'll get there. I would throw in, if you've watched the show, I say all the time, the alternative methods have to be explored if you really want to get and stay healthy. We're finding more and more that the ivermectin, fenbendazole, mebendazole is a real option for cancer. Don't take my medical advice. I'm just a guy who loves my God, my country, and my flag. And I love my God, my country, and my flag. But I'm not giving medical advice. Go check it out yourself. But we're finding out that a lot of these alternatives that we were told by the experts don't work, actually do work. And what Ray Kurzweil is saying is, we're going to be able to do so much with AI so quickly that we're going to very quickly be able to rule aging out as a way of death. Then he gets into accidents. He says that, I don't know that this is true, taking his word for it here. He says that the automatic driving cars, self-driving cars, are really limiting the accidents. And I think he says there's about 40,000 deaths from automobile accidents a year. And he's saying that with self-driving cars, we're going to get that way down, probably not to zero. But, if you cut it in half, that's 20,000 lives that weren't lost in a year. And then the next year it's 20,000. And the next year it's 20,000. And if you couple it with the things that AI is going to find on the medical side, you've got a much more thriving society. If you cut out the dying, we focus on the dying part. If you cut out the dying part, you also have a situation where there's less suffering, where you can spend more good time and healthy time and productive time. You don't have to be absent from work. You don't have to be absent for your family. Your family doesn't have to take care of you as much. These are all things that come if Ray Kurzweil is right. So that will come with AI and these advancements and also these alternatives. So the future is looking bright. Trump is trying to do great things, get rid of the globalists, get rid of the neocons, really work for ordinary Americans. Ray Kurzweil is saying that we've got a bright future with AI in terms of medicine, because we're going to rule out aging as a reason for dying. So as 58-year-old, I think to myself, I got to make sure I stay healthy till at least 2032. I hope I can stay healthy much longer than that. But that's how I think about it. All right, we went a little over. Thank you for joining us. Get a hold of your senator. Get on social media. Speak, post, do anything you can about the Save America Act. It is critical. I suspect Trump is warming up an executive order around it, but who knows? He seems pretty adamant. Like, let's get it going. He's been putting out Truth Socials. He's starting to call out the Senate. Critical importance. All right, we're going to be back at our regular time tomorrow. Tonight, we had a crazy situation where the technology didn't work. So we came on at 5:30. Tomorrow, it's 2 o'clock, Rumble and YouTube. This is The Ordinary American. I'm your host, Paul Sarkis. As I always say, the great Mike Schmitz, Father Mike Schmitz says, I'm praying for you. Please pray for me. I like to end with, I'm rooting for you. Please root for me. We'll see you tomorrow, 2 p.m., right back here. Not